pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First item we have tonight is the adoption of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda. Are there any additions or corrections anybody has? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next, being the new year for the council, it is time to adopt Chapter 2 of the Municipal Code concerning the rules for conducting council meetings.
Move that we adopt Chapter 2 of the Municipal Codes for conducting council meetings.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on that item? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next, we have the election for council president. Are there any nominations?
I would nominate David Morak.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to nominate David Morak. Are there any other nominations? If there are none, I'd look for a motion to close the nominations and cast a unanimous ballot.
So move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to close the nominations for council president and cast a unanimous ballot for Dave Morak. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Just want to say, Your Honor, before we move on, it's a great honor and privilege to serve you as your council president. We're going to have some challenging times ahead, but I give you my word that I will serve to the best of my abilities. I thank you for your support.
Thank you. Next, we have a resolution designating public depositories. I want you to note on there I'd like the motion to delete Bank Mutual from the list, but add Associated Bank
So move.
list.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the resolution designating public depositories and deleting Bank Mutual, adding Associated Bank to the list that's on there. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next, we need a motion to designate the New London Press Star as the official newspaper.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to name the New London Press Star as our official newspaper. All those in favor say aye.
I would
Opposed?
like to cast
Motion
a
carried.
unanimous, or I'd like to cast a abstaining
Abstain?
on that vote.
Okay. Please note Mr. Fichet abstaining.
Noted.
Next, you've got the list of committees for commissions and boards and so forth to be made at this May meeting. We need a motion not to approve, well, it may as well be to approve them all, but the Police and Fire Commission is actually the only one that requires council vote.
So moved that we approve the list as presented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the list of committee appointments, commissions, and boards as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Gary,
Yes.
doesn't Public Works have to be voted by the council?
I can't hear you.
Doesn't Public Works have to be voted by the council?
I don't think so. Well, they're all approved anyway by council, so. Good, I'll have to look at that, I'm not sure.
It had an asterisk.
Did it?
It had an
I'm
asterisk.
sorry,
It does,
yes,
but we approved them all, so.
yeah, we're fine. Okay, next, the April 9th, 2019 minutes.
Move to adopt the minutes.
Been moved and seconded to approve the April 9th, 2019 minutes. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next, authorization to pay bills. Mr. Morak.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move we pay bills in the amount of $661,246.53.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to pay bills in the amount of $661,246.53. Are there any questions or comments on the bills? Please cast your ballots. All voting yes, motion carried. Next, I'm going to open the public hearing. We've got two tonight. The first one is to amend the future land use map in residential zoning districts. This would be the first reading. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to be heard on that item? If not, we'll close the public hearing on that issue. The next one is to amend section 7.07 of the ordinances to limit parking in school zones. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to comment on that item? Mr. Schlater.
Mr. Mayor, that was actually presented and it went through the first reading last year and somehow got tabled on the side, or it didn't get put on the next agenda, so that's why it's back up in front of you.
Being tabled is putting it nicely. Probably got wastebasketed, Jeff.
It might have been.
Okay.
Trying to be politically correct.
Okay. Is anybody have any comment on that? Okay, I will close the public hearing on that one. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to make a public comment on any issue? If not, we'll move right along. First of all, we have the ad hoc committee minutes from April 17th, April 30th, and May 3rd. Mr. Morak, do you want to?
Read them.
Yeah, I don't think we really have to. I think the council's got them. And there's no point, there's nothing in them, basically. So we will move right along to Board of Public Works. Mr. Barrington.
Thank you. Board of Public Works met on Monday, May 7th, 4:30. First order of business was wastewater treatment plant update. Mr. Ben presented the wastewater treatment plant update. Since there are no questions, it was accepted as done. The next item was wastewater treatment compliance maintenance annual report. Mr. Gruhl presented the completed compliance maintenance annual report to the board. Wastewater treatment plant received an overall grade of A for 2018. Mr. Gruhl explained that the DNR requires a resolution stating that the report has been reviewed and accepted at council. That'll be brought to council tonight, Your Honor. The next was to review bid tabs and consider awarding a construction contract for the Clot Road Utility Expansion Project. The council received 4 bids. The DNR has approved the extension of the sewer main. We are waiting for approval for the water main. Carl Bowers and Sons Construction presented the lowest bid, $371,136.50. That was voted on at the meeting. That will be brought to council tonight. The next item was review the bid tab and consider awarding a construction contract for the Cedar Street North Ridge Drive Improvement Project and the Industrial Loop Road and the High Street Railroad Crossing Improvement Project. The city received 2 bids for this project. Bid results came in a bit higher than expected. Mr. Hirth worked with the city engineers to remove a few items from the project to bring the cost closer within the budget and recommended awarding the contract to the lower bidder, MCC, in the amount of $336,219.15. That'll be brought to council tonight. The next item was recommend to council an award for 2019 sidewalk rehabilitation projects. The city received 1 bid for the 2019 sidewalk rehabilitation project from Jim Fisher Incorporated in the amount of $29,726. This bid amount includes replacing the concrete aprons outside the west garage bays at the fire department. An alternate cost of $300 was included for faster curing concrete for the fire department aprons. Mr. Hirth recommended a contract award to Fisher Incorporated and to include the alternate for the faster curing concrete. This was voted on our meeting that will be brought to council tonight. Director's memo, there was nothing that had to be changed. Other matters, nothing for the next month's meeting. There are no further meeting. The minute was adjourned at 4:53. I make a motion to recommend to council to approve a resolution accepting wastewater treatment plant 2018 compliance maintenance annual report.
Second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the resolution accepting the compliance maintenance report for the wastewater treatment plant. Any questions or comments on that item? Please cast your ballots. All voting yes, motion carried.
The next item, I make a motion to recommend to council to award the contract for Clot Road Utility Extension Project to Carl Bowers and Sons in the amount of $371,136.50.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to award the contract for the Clot Road Utility Extension Project to Carl Bowers and Sons in the amount of $371,136.50. Is there any discussion on that item? Please cast your ballots. All voting yes, motion carried.
I make a motion to award the contract for Cedar Northridge Drive Improvement Project and Industrial Road High Street Improvements, MCC, in the amount of $336,219.15.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to award the contract for the Cedar Street Northridge Drive Improvement Project and the Industrial Road High Street Railroad Improvement Projects to MCC, the amount of $336,219.15. Is there any discussion on that item? Please cast your ballots. All voting yes, motion carried.
I make a motion to recommend to council an award for the 2019 sidewalk rehabilitation projects. City received one bid for $29,726. This also includes putting special fast curing concrete so we can get the fire trucks in and out without leaving them outside too long.
I think that, isn't that actually $30,026, Mike?
Yes, there's additional, yep, $30,000.
Okay, it's awarding the 2019 sidewalk rehab projects to Jim Fisher Incorporated for $30,026. Is there any discussion on that item? Please cast your ballots.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We gotta wait for a second.
Oh.
Tom?
Tom.
All voting yes, motion carried.
And that is all I have tonight, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Barrington. Next, we move to Finance and Personnel. Mr. Morak.
Thank you, Your Honor. Finance and Personnel Committee met on Wednesday, May 8th at 4:30 PM in the council chambers. Motion was made by Barrington and seconded by Zog to recommend to council approval of a license for a second-hand article sales in Walmart. The purpose of this license is to allow a company to set up an area in Walmart to purchase cell phones with the intent of reselling. Motion carried 6-0. Phil Cosson, the city's municipal advisor, presented the committee with the pre-sale report for $7.88 million of sewerage, water, and electric mortgage revenue bonds. $5.34 million of this debt issue will be used for an upgrade at the wastewater treatment plant, and $2.54 million will be used for main at the electric water utility. Motion was made by Zog and seconded by Fache to recommend to council approval of a resolution providing for the sale of approximately $7,888,000 of sewerage, water, and electric system mortgage revenue bonds. Motion carried 6-0. The committee had a general discussion on filling the building inspector, zoning code enforcement, emergency planning position. The finance director's reports were reviewed and approved. The city administrator's report was discussed. The June Finance and Personnel Committee meeting will be held on Wednesday, June 5th at 4:30 p.m. There being no public comment or further discussion, the meeting adjourned at 5:46 p.m. And I would, regarding an ordinance to amend section 7.07 to limit parking in the school zones, I move we waive rules to adopt the ordinance to amend section 7.07 to limit parking in school zones in one reading.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to waive the rules and approve the ordinance amendment to 7.07 in one reading. Are there any questions on that item? Please cast your ballots. All voting yes, motion carried.
I move we adopt the ordinance then to amend section 7.07 to limit parking in the school zones.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to adopt the ordinance, the amendment to 7.07 to limit parking in school zones. Is there any discussion on the ordinance itself? If not, please cast your ballots. All voting yes, motion carried.
And I move we approve the resolution providing for a sale of approximately $7,888,000 sewerage, water, and electric system mortgage revenue bonds.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the resolution providing for the sale of approximately $7.88 million in sewage, water, and electric system mortgage revenue bonds. Are there any comments or questions on that item? Please cast your ballots. All voting yes, motion carried.
And I move we approve the license list for May as presented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the license list as presented. Any questions or comments on the license list? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously.
And that's all I have for finance and personnel here.
Thank you, Mr. Morak. Next, we move to Park and Recreation. Mr. Besaw.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Park and Rec Committee met on Tuesday, May 7th. Meeting was called to order at 5:30. Steinhorst moved to approve the agenda, second by Herder, and motion was carried. Dean moved, public comment relevant to items on the agenda where none was present. And considered for action renewal of the Salvation Army lease of the Franklin Park building. The Salvation Army started leasing the Franklin Park building in 2012, with the current lease running out in 2018. The Salvation Army and representatives are in good standing and are easy to work with. Chad recommended extending the lease of the Franklin Park building with the Salvation Army for another 5-year term. That'll be brought to council tonight. Discuss the police department's HIVAC upgrade project. A mandatory pre-bid meeting for interested contractors was held on April 30th. Unfortunately, only one contractor attended this mandatory meeting. Chad asked the engineers to extend the bid opening date to the end of May to try to bring in more interest for this project. Another mandatory pre-bid meeting is scheduled to be held on May 16th with a new bid opening at the end of the month. No motion was made on this item. Update of the status of the Newton-Blackmore Trail extension. Chad explained that the city applied for a grant for the Newton-Blackmore Trail extension for for Phase 1 of the trail development in 2018. The city did not receive a grant award for this application. After communications with the DNR, Region Grant Administrator, and the city's engineers for the project, Chad learned that the stewardship grant runs on a 3-year cycle, with the larger grant amounts anticipated in 2021. Chad recommended waiting for the 2021 cycle before applying for the next round of stewardship funding, but will look into other grant opportunities as well. No motion was made on this item. Discuss new start time for future Park and Recreation Committee meetings. Chairman led a discussion asking the committee's interest in moving the Park and Rec Committee monthly meetings start time from 5:30 to 4:30. The consensus was that the change of time should work in everyone's schedule. In the director's memo and report, there was no questions on the monthly reports and statistics. Years of service report. Julie Geeson, facility custodian, completed 1 year of service with the city on April 2nd. Paul Nelson Moore completed 4 years of service with the city on April 20th. There was no chairman's report and no committee members' report. Next month agenda items, there was none identified. Committee was adjourned at 5:55. I would ask the council for recommendation to extend the lease of the Franklin Park building with the Salvation Army for another 5-year term.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve a 5-year extension to the Salvation Army for the lease of the Franklin Park building. Any comments or questions on that item? Please cast your ballots. All voting yes, motion carried.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Besaw. Next, we move to Planning Commission. Mr. Steinhorst.
Thank you, Your Honor. We had no meeting in the month of April. However, I do have 2 other points of action. First of all, I would move to approve an ordinance to annex the property from the town of Muckwa. This is the Romanesco property.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve an ordinance to annex the property from the town of Muckwa. Is there any discussion on that item? Please cast your ballots. All voting yes, motion carried.
Secondly, I would move to accept the first reading of an amendment for future land use map in the residential districts. This deals with a residential area on East Water Street. East
South Water
East
Street.
South Water Street.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to accept the first reading of an amendment to the future land use map in a residential district. Any comments or questions on that item? Please cast your ballots. All voting yes, motion carried.
And that's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Steinhorst. Next, we move to Economic Development Committee. Mr. Morak.
Thank you, Your Honor. Economic Development Committee met on Tuesday, April 30th at 4:30 p.m. in the City Council chambers. The March 25th minutes were approved. Kelly and Seasoned Poison appeared before the committee to share some of the ideas about beautification of the downtown area. They had recently traveled in Colorado and visited several communities. They shared their ideas that they gained from this trip with the committee. They are going to seek out the New London Art League and also work with the Chamber of Commerce's Downtown Improvement Committee to see if some of the ideas they have can be implemented in New London. The Economic Development Committee encouraged them to proceed. The owners of Shackton Cut Stock and Go Fast Manufacturing have approached the city about possible expansion of their businesses to the Northeast New London Business Center. The committee reviewed a draft offer to accommodate their needs. Motion was made by Zog and seconded by Bishop to make the offer as presented to the committee. The offer is specifically contingent on the owners providing satisfactory confirmation from their primary lender that they have financing available to accomplish their proposed expansion. The motion passed unanimously. The final development agreement will be brought before the committee once agreed to by the owners of the businesses. April updated the committee on the bike rental project. It was felt that the rental rate utilized last year was set too high. A lower rate is being implemented for this summer. All is in order for the program to continue. Chairman Mork described information he gathered at a conference regarding migration and its effect on the state, as well as a presentation about Wisconsin continuing to be attractive to the millennial generation. Kent reviewed his recent activities. The next committee meeting will be held on Tuesday, May 26th at 4:30 p.m. There was no public comment, and the meeting adjourned at 5:45 p.m. That's all I have for economic development.
Okay, thank you for the Economic Development Committee news. Now we move to capital projects, Mr. Morak.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Capital Projects Equipment and Project Committee met on Tuesday, April 12th at 6:45 p.m. in the municipal building. City Administrator Hager reviewed the capital equipment and projects plan. The fund balances were discussed, as were prior purchases and remaining balances. Moved by Barrington and seconded by Zog to approve the adjustment to the capital equipment balance reflecting the expenditure for the recodification project. Motion carried at 9-0. Henke recommended the approval of the city recodification project for a cost of $11,560. Motion by Barrington and second by Zog to approve the recodification proposal from General Code. Motion carried 9-0. And the meeting adjourned at 6:52 p.m. And I would move that we approve the full capital equipment and project schedule for May, for 2019 as presented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the capital projects and equipment list as presented by committee. Any question on that item? Please cast your ballots. All voting yes, motion carried.
That's all I have for capital projects.
Thank you. Let me see now. Okay, now we move on to minutes and reports you've got from the Housing Authority, Library Museum Board, Police and Fire Commission, Utility Commission, Cemetery Superintendent, Building Inspector. Are there any comments or questions on those reports? Okay, we'll move along to reports of officers. I have a couple of proclamations to make. The first one is the Poppy Day Proclamation. Whereas America is the land of freedom, preserved and protected willingly and freely by citizen soldiers, and whereas millions who have answered the call to arms have died on the field of battle, and whereas during a time of war and through evil acts of terrorism, it has become more apparent that we need to show our gratitude to all men and women in uniform, here and abroad, especially those who have paid the ultimate price so that we may remain living in a free country. And whereas the red poppy has long been designated as a symbol of sacrifice of the lives in all wars, and whereas the American Legion Auxiliary has pledged to remind America annually of this debt through the distribution of the memorial poppy, those flowers made by disabled veterans in Wisconsin. Therefore, as mayor of the city of New London, the counties of Outagamie and Wapaka, Wisconsin, I do hereby proclaim May 24th through 25th, 2019 as Poppy Days in New London. Furthermore, I ask that all citizens pay tribute to those who have made the ultimate sacrifice in the name of freedom by wearing their poppy in remembrance on Memorial Day, the 27th of May, 2019. Thank you. And we thank the American Legion Auxiliary very much. Okay, the next one is dealing with Public Works Week. Whereas public services provided in our community are an integral part of our citizens' everyday lives, and whereas the support of an understanding and informed citizenry is vital to the efficient operation of the public works systems and programs, such as sewers, streets, public buildings, and solid waste collection. And whereas the health, safety, and comfort of this community greatly depends on these facilities and services. And whereas the quality and effectiveness of these facilities, as well as their planning, design, and construction, is vitally dependent upon the efforts and skill of public works officials. Whereas the efficiency of the qualified and dedicated personnel who staff the Public Works Department is materially influenced by people's attitudes and understandings of the importance of their work they perform. Therefore, as mayor, by virtue of the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim the week of May 19th as National Public Works Week in the city of New London. And I call on all citizens and civic organizations to acquaint themselves with the issues involved in providing our public works and to recognize the contributions which public works officials make every day for our health, safety, comfort, and quality of life. Thank you, and that's all I've got tonight. Next, we go to City Administrator, Mr. Hager.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just have a couple items. The Romanesco subdivision is moving forward, so you're going to be seeing some construction work out on Clot Road to extend the utilities to that development. And it's summertime, so we'll have a number of construction projects going on. If you look at the agenda here this evening, several road projects, also a big project at the sewer plant, and water utility is working on a well, so you're going to be maybe inconvenienced sometimes. I know the railroad crossings have always been a problem. They have been for quite a while. It's a challenge to work with the railroad to get those underway, but those are going to be improved as well. So folks that are driving to work in that area will definitely notice improvement once it's done, but there'll be some inconveniences in between. So that's all I have, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, we'll go to our Chief of Police, Mr. Schlueter.
Thank you, Your Honor. We had 2 anniversaries, Jeremy Mulroy 5 years and Ben Schmidt 13 years. And then I just want to talk quick about a new scam that we're kind of seeing showing up around town here. It's mainly targeting people probably 45 years and older, both male and female, on dating websites. And what we're seeing is people being scammed where they start dating online. They never actually meet the person. The person then has to go back overseas where their business, something happens to it, and their bank accounts get locked down. And then they start asking citizens from around here and probably all over the country to start sending some money. And we've had people with substantial amounts of money that have been sent to overseas in the last few weeks here. And I just want to remind you that please, know where you're sending your money, make sure it's going to where you want it to. My suggestion is if you're dating someone and you haven't met them in person, be very cautious, as we never know who the money is going to. So it's just another scam out there, and we're still seeing the Craigslist scams going on and everything else. So please be careful out there. Keep your money at home, and don't fall into it. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Next, Director of Public Services, Mr. Hirth.
Thank you, Your Honor. 2 quick things. Number 1, join the Recreation Department on Saturday, June 1st from 9 a.m. to noon at Riverside Boat Launch for our annual Youth Fishing Day. Registration is available by calling us at the office at 982-8521, online at newlondonwi.org, or stopping by at the office at the Municipal Building. Every youth that participates will receive a tackle box, a rod-reel combo, and a full lunch. Resident price $12 and non-residents for $17. I know I've had both my children in the event. It's a really cool event. You learn how to tie a knot and learn some fishing tips from some experts. So it's a really good event. And then we were just in the beginning stages at the New London Aquatics and Fitness Center for our annual pool maintenance regiment. The pool is closed down as of yesterday and will be closed down through Memorial Day, and we'll be back open for our normal hours starting on Tuesday, May 28th. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And last but certainly not least, we have our Fire Chief, Mr. Wilfer.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just have some service anniversaries to announce. Eric Sager, 10 years. Michael Nash, 5 years. Aaron Ott, 5 years. Andy Burns, 5 years. Joe Kitcher, 3 years. Ren Scott, 1 year. Jason Fleece, 3 years. And Zach Dunbar, 10 years. That's all I have tonight for you, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments tonight? If not, I would look for a motion to go into closed session.
Moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to go into closed session per 1985 1C to receive background check report on the administrator applicant. Please cast your ballots.